Libras, welcome back to Readings by Gwendolyn. Welcome back to the channel, or for those of you who are new, welcome. This video is going to be about the new moon in Cancer that's happening today at 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And in the wee hours of the morning for the UK, Europe, and for places like Australia, this will be tomorrow on June 24th in midday. So there's a couple of things going on with this new moon in Cancer. We've got the sun, the moon, and Mercury all conjunct here. And then we've also got Mars hanging out in Cancer a few degrees away. And we've got Pluto is trining Venus in Taurus here. Venus is exalted in Taurus. And then we also have Saturn trining the North Node, as well as Mars squaring the midheaven and Jupiter in Libra. So what does all this mean? One of the first things is that when Sun is conjunct the moon, that's when all new moons happen. It means a new beginning. And I'm saying, especially here with the moon in Cancer, the moon rules Cancer, and the moon is representative of feelings and emotions. I'm going to say this is new feelings that are coming about. And we're just following this new moon in Gemini from last month, and we've got Gemini's ruler Mercury conjunct this new moon. So it's also about the new thoughts that arose last month and having new feelings that are a result of those new thoughts. So in the progression of the zodiac, we've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Gemini being the third house and Cancer being the fourth house. So when we get new thoughts here in that new moon in Gemini, these are new feelings, which is the next progression of things that go along with those new thoughts. So I'm really going to say, along with this new way of thinking, Gemini also rules, and Mercury rule speech and communication. So I'm going to say, along with the new feelings that you're getting, having to do with the new thoughts that have been arising, you're going to want to speak those. So speaking about the new feelings that you're getting and really saying what you mean. This is really a time for being authentic. And that's something that is in support with the world's energy right now. Right now, there's a real interplay of things that are superficial or false or phony or image-based versus what is authentic. And this is encouraging you, this new moon is encouraging you to speak your truth. Speak about what you really feel. Speak about these new thoughts, these new feelings that are originating and coming to the surface for you during this time. So it's really supported for you. I will say that there may be some hesitancy, or you may want to sort of push pause on taking action on any of those thoughts or feelings, because Mars is the planet of action. And even though the moon is here in Cancer and the moon rules Cancer and there's all this new feelings, new emotions, Mars is the planet of action. And right now there may be a tendency to overact or overreact with Mars squaring Jupiter here. Jupiter tends to make everything bigger than it is normally. It really blows things up. And in case of Mars and, Mars energy, that can really create flare-ups. So I'm going to say just push pause on taking action, but do really pull to the surface the new thoughts, the new feelings, and the new words, or the new way of expressing yourself about those feelings that's coming up. It's a really good time to say what's on your heart. Really good time to acknowledge new feelings that are coming up, new thoughts and new words that are coming, maybe even a new way of expressing yourself. This moon has most of its planets in water. We've got the sun, moon, Mercury, Mars, Neptune, and Chiron, all in water signs. So there's a lot. It's really an emotional time, really good time to get in touch with your emotions and even speak them. That's Mercury conjunct the moon and the sun. So it's you being who you are, feeling what you feel, and saying what you mean. And fourth house Cancer is really a placement of determining boundaries. So it's a real time of determining who gets to come in the house, who stays out of the house, who gets invited into your personal space, and who gets kept out of your personal space. It may be decisions between who you let in and who you keep out. That's very Cancerian themed. Cancer is about the home. It's about parenting. It's about creating that safe nest where we raise offspring or children. So Cancer is really, Cancer also has the hard shell that they present to the world, but they also have the soft insides, the authentic stuff, the juicy stuff that is protected by this outer shell. So it's really a time of determining for you, regardless of what sign you are, and this new moon in Cancer really gives us an opportunity to feel these new feelings and determine who gets access to those or not. Who do we show our vulnerability to, the soft innermost side, or who gets confronted with the shell, and how do we go from, if we tend to lean towards having that outer shell of protection, how do we open up and show this inner vulnerable, authentic side as well, the emotional side? That's what Mercury is doing here, hanging out with the moon to create an outlet of communication for those feelings. So sun is who we are, moon is our feelings, and Mercury is how we speak about it. And they're all hanging out together. So be yourself, acknowledge your feelings, and speak about them. Say what you mean, speak your truth. That's really supported for this new moon. Taking action, you may want to wait. Mars is in detriment in Cancer. Not the best placement for Mars, so not the best placement for action. And there could be tendency, like I said, for things to go big, like overreaction or any, anger, flare-ups, argumentativeness. Hang back, hold off on taking action, but definitely speak your truth during this new moon and assess what stays out and what gets let in. That's very Cancerian. It's very fourth house. During our 4-year, it's all about boundaries and foundation, and making these determinations now will help build a strong foundation for what comes next. We'll see some new life, some new creativity when we get our new moon in Leo next month. But right now it's all about setting foundations, deciding how you feel, letting those new feelings bubble up to the surface, maybe even speaking about them, sharing them. That's what Mercury's there to do in support of this sun and moon conjunction here in Cancer. So a couple other things that are going on too. Pluto is trine Venus. Now Venus is exalted in Taurus here. So Pluto is the planet of change. Pluto is a planet of transformation, of big transformational changes. So if any of you are looking to make changes in your physical appearance, that's Taurus here, that's the body, that's beauty. Venus is also about beauty. This is a wonderful time. If any of you are considering a makeover or changing something about your personal appearance, perhaps a haircut or new wardrobe, any of that, wonderful time for that. It's got full support of Pluto and Capricorn, which is the outer world, trining with Venus, the planet of beauty here in Taurus, exalted in Taurus. Great time to go out, get that haircut, or any procedures that you are needing done, whether it be cosmetic surgery or dental surgery, or again, just an update to the wardrobe. Anything that you're thinking about doing, this new moon in Cancer is a wonderful time to begin that. Also, we have Saturn trining the North Node. Saturn in Sagittarius, the sign of the explorer and higher learning, trining the North Node in Leo, the person who's on stage, the person who expresses themselves. So it's a really great time to think again about the foundations, Saturn energy, that are supporting us to go where we want to go. That's North Node. Where are we headed? So you can be thinking about what structures do I need to put in place to get me to the place where I can begin the action, begin the creativity, begin the expression of where I'm wanting to be head to create that new life. So again, this new moon in Cancer, wonderful time about setting foundations, not necessarily action, but setting foundations, pouring the cement of who we want to become in an authentic way with these new feelings that are coming up, new thoughts, and even speaking those thoughts. So that is my assessment of this new moon in Cancer and its astrology. And now I'm going to go into what it means for each sign. So here, let's go straight into that. Also, one last thing I wanted to say about this new moon in Cancer is that it's happening at 2 degrees 47 minutes Cancer. And the Sabian symbol for 3 degrees Cancer is an Arctic explorer leads a reindeer through icy canyons. So along with this theme of exploring what new feelings, new thoughts are happening, we may go into some quiet solitude within ourselves as I want you to sort of look at that word explorer, because that's usually a Sag theme. And we've got Saturn in Sag. Saturn is the great foundational planet. It's all about potentially struggles and challenges, but things that we need to confront and overcome in order to have stronger, more stable results. So as we go through this icy canyon of, uncharted territory, perhaps, in terms of our feelings, of these thoughts, really having that inner contemplation, but then also coming out and sharing it with Mercury, speaking about it differently. We may, upon these new thoughts and feelings, learn to speak differently. So as an Arctic explorer leads a reindeer through icy canyons, it's all about negotiating this new terrain. And again, discovering what is going to be ours and what is going to be sort of kept outside. What are we going to claim as our land, as our territory, and as well, decide what's going to remain as foreign or kept outside of that sphere of the home, of the person, of the self. So that's what's going on with the last bit of astrology there. So now I'm going to go into what it means for each sign. So for Cancer, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your first house of the self. Now, this has to do with your individuality, your self, your personhood, the person that you are, and your personality may have an opportunity to begin something new. You may be choosing to be a new person or become a new person, or even setting the seeds of this new person that you want to become over the course of the next 6 months until we get that full moon in Cancer. So some of you Cancers may be redefining yourself during this full moon. There's a real theme with this new moon of connecting the new thoughts that we got back in the new moon in Gemini with new feelings. That is very Cancerian. And then also, because of it's being conjunct Mercury, new ways of speaking about it. So there's a real tie here between Gemini and Cancer with this new moon, with Gemini's ruler hanging out conjunct the sun and the moon. So I'm going to say for you, Cancer, as well as redefining yourself and your personality, you have a real opportunity here to be looking at what new thoughts are creating and generating new feelings that you want to speak about, that you want to say. You may have some of you, it may be even learning a new language or saying things in a completely different way. But mostly I'm getting that your personality and yourself, you may be in a period over the next 6 months, Cancer, of redefining yourself. It's sort of like planting the new seeds now of examining what are these new thoughts, what are these new feelings, and how do I want to speak about them so that I am a new person, developing into this new self, this new personhood, even new personality over the next 6 months. So there's really a new you evolving. And I'm kind of seeing, for some of you Cancers, it's like the crab that's coming up through the sand and like poking its head out. So enjoy that, Cancer. You've got a new you coming over the next 6 months. It's almost like you're giving birth to yourself. For Leo, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 12th house of dreams, of the unconscious, of spirituality, of mysticism. So a new moon in Cancer rules the moon, or rather, the moon rules Cancer. And with this new moon conjunct the sun in Cancer, in your 12th house, I'm going to say pay attention to your dreams. A new moon usually represents a time when there is something that is initiating, something that is beginning. You're planting the fertile seeds of something during that new moon. And this new moon really features new thoughts and new feelings, and speaking about them. So I'm going to say, begin speaking about your dreams, especially if they're new dreams that are starting to occur to you. And I mean this in the literal sense of dreams that you have at night, as well as dreams that you have for your life. Because 12th house is all about dreams, mysticism, connecting things all as one, reaching into the depths of our unconscious, tapping into things that are below our consciousness. So I'm going to say for you, Leo, great time to access your dreams, great time to begin writing about your dreams. I would say get a dream journal, because you've got new words and new feelings to express that now. So it could be a really creative time with you in terms of tapping into your unconscious. If any of you are doing any sort of hypnotherapy work or anything that has to do with the subconscious or the unconscious, wonderful time to connect with your feelings, or begin connecting with your feelings and thoughts, because you may have new access in speaking about it, because Mercury is conjunct this new moon in Cancer, and Mercury is about communication. So I encourage you to look into your dreams, Leo. Begin speaking about your dreams, allowing the feelings and the thoughts about your dreams to start coming to the surface. And you might see some nice results over the next 6 months when we have the full moon in Cancer coming about. For Virgo, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 11th house of the outer society, of the collective, of networking, of friends, of basically whoever is the other, whoever is humanity to you, whoever is your tribe, friends, collective. So new moon in Cancer says you may be having new thoughts and feelings about who you want to interact with. Who do you identify with as your tribe? How do you identify with humanity as a whole? And maybe speaking about themes that relate to that. You may be having this spark of feeling with new thoughts related to humanity and beginning to talk about that. That's very new moon in Cancer conjunct Mercury. Mercury hanging out near the sun and moon here in Cancer today is saying, I want to express these new thoughts and these new feelings that I'm getting. So I'm going to invite you, Virgo, to talk about or communicate about whatever it is that you see as a vision for humanity, things that you see as a vision for the collective, for community, anything that has to do with networking, anything that has to do with science that's also ruled by the 11th house. You may get some new thoughts and feelings that you want to communicate about how you think people can come together, how you think that the collective can be advanced. If there's scientific breakthroughs, you may get a new idea just from a feeling that you get. Communicate about it. That's new moon in Cancer conjunct Mercury. It's all about being authentic. Express your authentic self, especially regarding your tribe, your network, your friends, your collective, whoever it is that you engage with in sort of an outward communal way. That's all featured right now, humanity as a whole. So I encourage you to speak about that, Virgo. That's featured for you right now, and you may see some nice results by the time we get the full moon in Cancer in six months. For Libra, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 10th house. This is your house of career. This is your house of status, of reputation, of outer accomplishment and achievement. So you may have, Libra, some new thoughts and some new feelings about your career, about what it is that you want to do in the outside world, and about anything that you want to achieve, new achievements. You may have some new thoughts and ideas and feelings about, gosh, I want to go climb this mountain. I want to go achieve this goal. I want to go put this flag in the sand somewhere. And so right now, I encourage you, Libra, to start talking about that, because Mercury, the planet of communication, is conjunct the sun and moon in Cancer here. So in your 10th house, you may just even want to start brainstorming and talking about, hey, I have this desire, this feeling about that I want to advance my career in this way, or that I want to achieve this particular thing. That's really, achieve is a great 10th house word. So what are your goals? What are your achievements? What thoughts and feelings are you having about that? Really connect with the authenticity of that and speak about that, because right now in this new moon, it's about setting foundations and being authentic about what it is that you want to achieve, or what feelings you're having regarding your career. There's something being born in your 10th house of career right now, Libra, and Mercury being conjunct the sun and the moon in your 10th house says you need to talk about it. It's a good time to express about it, communicate, identify what those new thoughts and feelings are regarding your 10th house of career, status, outward reputation, goals, achievements, and start speaking about that, start communicating about that. And you may see some nice results over the next 6 months with that, Libra. So that is your reading for the new moon in Cancer. For Scorpio, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 9th house of higher learning. So you may have some new inspirations, some new thoughts, some new feelings about some higher learning that you want to do. For some of you, this may be even like a mystic revelation kind of time, like an aha moment, because 9th house is the house of higher learning and travel and exploration, but it can also be the house of religion. So I'm really getting the sense that some of you Scorpios are getting some insight. That's really the word that I'm getting for you, because the new thoughts that we just got when we had the new moon in Gemini last month are now progressing into new feelings with this new moon in Cancer. And the ruler of Gemini is hanging out conjunct this new moon in Cancer. So it's saying new thoughts, new feelings, and new expression. So I want, if you have any insights, especially regarding higher learning, travel, whatever that means to you, religion, exploration, I want you to share those, or invite you to share those, because Mercury is really saying you need to speak your truth. You need to share these thoughts and feelings. It's all about communication, or it's basically giving you an open channel. It's sort of like if the switchboard operator of the cosmos is plugging you in and saying, okay, Scorpio, now is your turn to speak authentically about new thoughts you're having, new feelings you're having, especially in terms of 9th house themes, publishing, outer communication with the outer world, exploration, travel, other philosophies, other cultures, other religions. I really would like you to question, what are my new thoughts? What are my new feelings? What do I want to say about these things? Because it's kind of like you're being given a platform right now to express that. You know, here are some new thoughts I have about religion, or here are some new thoughts I have about what I think should be published out in the world. All of that's supported right now, Scorpio. So I'm going to encourage you to connect those three things: the new thoughts, the new feelings, and the new words or the new expression, and apply those to any ninth house themes. For some of you, this may be getting a new publisher for a book that you've been writing, you know, especially about anything to do with travel or religion or higher learning of any sort. That's very featured, and you may see some nice results within the next 6 months when we get that full moon in Cancer. But just be authentic with your thoughts, your feelings, Scorpio, because you tend to have very deep feelings. You go to this very intense, deep place, and these are new feelings. If you think about where Scorpio goes from the deep water to Cancer, who lives right on the sand, they're coming to the surface, and they're asking to be released through communication and voice. That's what Mercury is doing. They're supporting these new thoughts and feelings. So enjoy this time of expression, Scorpio. Allow those feelings I'm actually getting the star image for some of you. In the tarot, there is a scorpion or a lobster or a crab that's coming to the surface, that usually is coming from pretty deep emotional waters and coming up for release. And it allows the animal to go forward on a new path. And it really does have a lot to do with evaluation, which is a Cancerian theme of like who gets to come into my inner private chambers, who stays out, what's home versus what is the rest of the world. So there's a real point of evaluation of saying, what am I going to keep private and what am I going to let out? And really expressing things that are coming to the surface for you right now, really being authentic with that is really featured for you. If any of you have the inclination to do any publishing regarding that, it could be very beneficial. So for Sag, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 8th house of transformation. So some of you may be going through a real regeneration, is what I'm going to say. Some of you are going to be having a phoenix moment with this new moon in Cancer, especially about what you think and what you feel, because the new moon in Gemini that we just had last month was about new thoughts. And this new moon in Cancer is about new feelings. And it is joined by the ruler of Gemini, which is Mercury, which has to do with expression, with communication, with words, with speaking, all of that. So what I'm really getting for you, Sagittarians, is that you've got this moment where you've got new thoughts creating new feelings, which is supported by new communication and new words. So you may really develop a new way of speaking. You may be developing a new way of being, a new way of feeling, and a new way of thinking about it. All this is the house of transformation, of death and rebirth. So for you, Sag, this new moon in Cancer is really an opportunity to sort of be reborn in the way that you think, feel, and speak. All three of those are hanging out together here. And it's an opportunity to cultivate that over the next 6 months until we get that full moon in Cancer. I really get the sense that if you took a snapshot of who you are now, Sag, in terms of the way that you think, feel, and speak, by the end of 6 months, when we get that full moon in Cancer, you're going to have a completely different way of thinking, feeling, and communicating. So plant those seeds now, Sag, of who you want that to be. You can direct this energy. It is like a plant that's being planted now, and it will grow over the next 6 months. So direct it in the way, decide what do you want to plant there? Who do you want to become over the next 6 months in regards of how you think, feel, and speak? That's what's going on for you, Sag, during this new moon in Cancer. There may be a death of the old way of being. It's almost like you're leaving behind an old way of thinking, feeling, and speaking, and a new way of thinking, feeling, and speaking is being born, or there's opportunity for that. So enjoy that, Sag. Decide how you want to be over the next 6 months, because you've got a phoenix moment happening for you. For Capricorn, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 7th house of partnerships. Now, these can be romantic partnerships, they can be business partnerships, they can be partnerships within the family, anyone that you interact with where it's you and the other balancing one another out. That's where this new moon in Cancer is happening. And the new moon in Cancer is about being authentic with your feelings. Now, this can be kind of tough for you, Cappies, because you usually like to play your cards pretty close to the vest. And this new moon in Cancer is inviting you to be authentic with your emotions and speak about them, especially as it regards to your partnerships. So the new moon in Cancer has the sun and the moon and Mercury all conjunct one another. So what it's saying is who I am, how I feel, and what I say are all together in tandem. So I really want you to consider those questions, Capricorn. Who am I? How do I feel? And what do I want to say? Because those all need to agree in order for your emotions, in order for you to be authentic and appear authentic and, literally show your authenticity. It's a real opportunity for you, Capricorn, to kind of be safe in your expression of your emotions because it's all about you being authentic. And not having to put up a facade of how you want to be perceived, especially, like I said, in terms of 7th house themes, relationships, partnerships, business relationships, anything where you're engaging with someone else, identifying who you are, identifying how you feel, and identifying what you think and how you're going to express it is really an opportunity that's presenting itself to you right now, especially in terms of your significant other or who you may want to be in partnership with. The new moon in Cancer says new thoughts. That's left over from our new moon in Gemini that we just had last month. This is probably still happening, that you're having new thoughts, new ways of thinking about things. That's creating new feelings and saying, I've got these new feelings arising. And with Mercury there, it's saying, I want to speak about them. You're getting support in expressing what these new feelings are. So I really encourage you, Capricorn, to, over the next 6 months, develop a new way of speaking about your feelings and that have arisen from these new thoughts, especially as it relates to your relationships. That's your opportunity over the next 6 months. And by the time we get the full moon in Cancer, you may see some nice results in that arena, in your 7th house. You may have an entirely new way of speaking about your feelings to your partner, or speaking about your feelings of how you show up in partnership. So that is a new words that reflect these new feelings about that. So enjoy that, Capricorn. For Aquarius, we have this new moon in Cancer showing up in your 6th house of work, of duty, of obligation, of day-to-day routines, of scheduling, and of health. So with the sun, the moon, and Mercury all conjunct in the 6th house, what it's saying is that there's new thoughts, new feelings, and new way of expressing those feelings. So if, for example, you used to have a certain feeling about the way you scheduled your day or your routines or your work schedule, but you have new thoughts and new feelings about that, you have the opportunity to express about that. Like, maybe I don't want to be on such a rigid schedule anymore, or maybe I do want a more scheduled structure. You're basically allowing the opportunity of these new thoughts and feelings to be expressed authentically. And that can really help you in your 6th house themes, anything that has to do with a work routine, a schedule, your day-to-day routine, calendaring, anything to do with your health. Like, for example, if you used to think, oh, I don't need to watch what I eat, you may have new thoughts and feelings about that now that may be emerging, and you may start talking about those. That's what the ruler of Gemini, Mercury, is doing there, is supporting the communication and expression of those new thoughts and feelings that are arising in 6th house themes. So, Aquarius, if you're having any new thoughts or new feelings, likely both, in terms of your work, in terms of your schedule, your health, your day-to-day routines, anything that has to do with sixth house themes. And if you want some more detail on that, you can look up sixth house or Virgo and look at what that is usually represented by. Right now, you're getting the opportunity to express those. Over the course of the next 6 months, that will become more and more so. So you may see yourself in terms of work, schedule, health, duty, obligation, day-to-day routines. You may see a change happen in that, in your willingness to express authentically these new thoughts and feelings that are arising with this new moon in Cancer. So that's what's going on for you, Aquarius. Enjoy that over the next 6 months. For Pisces, you are having a new moon in Cancer in your 5th house of true love, of creativity, of personal expression, and of children. So this new moon in Cancer has the sun, the moon, and Mercury all conjoined in this house of Cancer, which is represented by your 5th house. So what that means is that you may have new thoughts and new feelings about all these themes in the 5th house. True love, you may have a completely different idea about your true love, either who that is or who that might be, who you're with or who you want to be with. And then new feelings about that as well may be coming to the surface. And you may be supported by Mercury hanging out there, the planet of communication that rules Gemini, to speak about that and share, these new thoughts and feelings that are coming up for you with this new moon in Cancer. So it could be related to true love, to romance. You may be thinking, I have this new idea about a new thought about how I feel about that, and a new feeling that is generated from that new thought, and then also wanting to speak and share about that. That could also relate to a creative or expressive project or endeavor that you may be wanting to begin. You may get this sort of like aha moment of like, I just had this new thought, and it's creating this new feeling, and I want to speak about that and share about it. That's all 5th house stuff. This is usually where Leo sits. So it has to do with performance and creativity and expression and sharing from your heart. So really this is about being authentic in terms of how you think and feel, and then also expressing that. So over the next 6 months, we may see Pisceans expressing some creative ideas, expressing your thoughts about true love or romance. Even if this is to yourself, just speaking about it and being authentic about it is really going to help strengthen that. And you may see some nice results over the course of the next 6 months when we get that full moon in Cancer. So really just be authentic with yourself and others regarding your new thoughts and your new feelings. In regards to 5th house themes, creativity, personal expression, romance, true love, and for some of you, it's going to show up as children, anything that issues forth from you. So enjoy that, Pisces. You might see some nice new results over the course of the next 6 months. For Aries, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 4th house of the home. Now, this is the natural placement of Cancer. Cancer rules the 4th house. And the 4th house is usually about home. It can also mean about foundations. It can mean about parenting. It can be about nurturing, anything that we nurture or give birth to eventually. So new moon in Cancer, we've got the sun, the moon, and Mercury all hanging out here in Cancer in your 4th house. So some of you may be having new thoughts about your home, new feelings about where you want your home to be or how you feel about your home, and then expressing about that. That's really featured for this new moon in Cancer because it's conjunct Mercury, which is the planet of communication and words and expression. You may even decide that you want to write some things down. Right now is a wonderful time, Aries, to write affirmations about what you want your home to be like. So new thoughts, giving rise to new feelings, and then expressing those in terms of words, communication, all those Mercury themes. So all of this is setting the foundation, by the way, which is a 4th house theme for where we're going next. So I'd really invite you, Aries, to think about maybe you're having new thoughts or feelings about becoming a parent. That's definitely fourth house themed. And then speaking about those, that's very supported. New thoughts and feelings about your home. How do I feel about my home? How do I think about my home? Do I have new thoughts and feelings about my home situation? And speaking about that, because Mercury is sort of like a supporter of speech and communication. And all three of those are conjunct here in your fourth house. So real focus, it's almost like a spotlight is being shown on your home life. Whether that's literally your house, where you live, or who is in that home, how you want to be in the home, whether it be being a parent or not, or nurturing something. But maybe some of you are having new thoughts and feelings about your environment in your home. Like, I want to redecorate and I want to talk with others about that. That could be really featured too. So anything to do with home, foundations, who gets let in and who gets kept out, who gets allowed into my personal space and who is kept out of my personal space. These are all decisions, black and white, that are being made in this fourth house of home, foundations, boundaries. And you've got some new ideas and some feelings that you may want to talk about over the course of the next 6 months. And then you may see some nice results there, Aries. So let's see, who else? We've got, for Taurus. This new moon in Cancer is happening in your third house of communication, which is interesting because with that placement there, we also have Mercury, which is the planet of communication, in this third house, conjunct the sun, this new moon, sun and moon. So we've got sun, moon, and Mercury all conjunct in your third house of communication. So I see for you, Taurus, a new way of communicating is being born. And it's really being born from your new thoughts and your new feelings. So I'm really going to encourage you, Taurus, if any of you especially are looking to learn a new language, this is a wonderful time for Taurus to begin learning a new language. However, it may show up in terms of you speaking differently or saying things in a different way, or new words that are being used because of these new thoughts and new feelings that you're having. And then in this house of expression, new ways of saying it. For some of you, this could be like writing a new book. New thoughts and new feelings are generating new words. So that's definitely within the house of communication. It's also can be that you've got new ideas. Gemini is an air sign, which is a mental sign. I'm only saying Gemini because we've got that new moon in Gemini last month, and we've got Gemini's ruler showing up here. So there's really a sharing of Gemini and Cancerian energies here. So the new thoughts that are being brought in by Gemini are creating new feelings. That is the Cancerian word. Cancer is I feel. It's a water sign. So it's merging thoughts and feelings, and therefore new words, new expression, new communication based on those two things. So you have this support of sharing right now, a new way of expressing yourself, a new communication that is based on your new thoughts and feelings that are arising. And you can see some new strengthening of that. You've got some momentum for that over the course of the next 6 months until we get the full moon in Cancer. And by that time, you may see a nice strengthening or some nice results of whatever you begin now in terms of saying what you mean, saying what you feel, saying what you think. That's all really featured for you beginning now and over the course of the next 6 months, Taurus. Really great time to learn speaking in a new way, whether literal or figurative. And for Gemini, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your second house of possessions, of assets, of the physical world, of the body, of values, things you own. So this new moon in Cancer, you may have new thoughts and new feelings about what it is that you own or what it is that you want to own. So wonderful time to set affirmations about what you would like to have. Now that could either be a physical thing or it could be an intangible. It could be like a value. So I'm going to say, Gemini, because your ruler is hanging out conjunct the sun and the moon. Mercury is hanging out with the sun and the moon in your second house, to write down literally in words, the things that you want to have, the things that you want to bring to you. Now, those could be physical things, possessions, assets, or it could be an intangible value like patience or like integrity or whatever you value. I'm going to encourage you to put into words, not only speak it to others, but also to write it down. Because these are things that you have. For some of you, it could be, I have a healthy body, because second house is house of the body, remember. Or I have this. I have is the key word for the second house. And I feel is the key word for Cancer. So I want you to consider, how do those two things merge? How do you feel about what you have? I want you to think about whatever new thoughts or new feelings you're having about what it is that you possess, what you own. If you want to possess a certain quality or a certain thing, now's a great time to start communicating. That's Mercury's influence. And speaking, again, Mercury's influence, about how you think and feel about what you have, what you own. And you can see some nice progression and some nice development in this area over the next 6 months. If you really look at it and say, I want to own this. I want to have this. I want this quality, or I want whatever it is that's coming to the surface for you about what you think and what you feel. For some of you, it may even be like, I want to get rid of everything. I now think differently about what I own, and I feel differently about what I own. I want to get rid of everything I own and create something new. So whatever it is for you, Gemini, these new thoughts and new feelings about what you have, what you own, I want you to speak about them, or I'm inviting you to speak about them, even if it's just writing them down in a journal for yourself. Speaking and writing about new thoughts, new feelings about what you have, what you own, what you possess, what you want to be yours, what you want to own. It's featured for you right now. And you can see some nice progression of that over the course of the next 6 months when we get that full moon in Cancer. So that's my reading for everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I really encourage everyone to just be authentic with these new thoughts and these new feelings that are bubbling to the surface right now. Really speak about them, even if it's just to yourself. Acknowledge, I guess is what I'll say, these new thoughts and feelings. You don't necessarily have to take action on them right now, but begin to acknowledge and say what it is, these new feelings and these new thoughts that are coming to the surface for this new moon in Cancer. Enjoy it, everyone. And as always, I just want to thank each and every one of you for watching. I really appreciate all of my stars, and I will be talking with you soon. Thank you so much. Yours in the stars.